Tony from Buildium here, the platform that helps property managers master their everyday operations, make their residents feel at home, and take on more doors. Today, I'm excited to talk with Patrick Rubeski, VP of Engineering at Buildium, about his team's latest release that really includes two huge milestones for the company, and really how open data is here for Proptech. What we're going to talk about represents more than just a single platform. It also demonstrates a philosophical shift that's at the forefront of what we think the new industry should be. So let's get to it. Welcome, Patrick. Thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, first question I have for you. Clearly, we have some monumental news coming off the heels of really the most significant product release in Buildium history. Now, for those who haven't heard, Buildium launched an all-new analytics and insights for property managers to really peer inside their business performance with real-time, insight-driven dashboards that will help them make better decisions. Now, on top of that, an open API for Buildium is here, which opens up a whole new realm of possibilities of how property managers can use their data to drive decision-making. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on with both of those big milestones?
Yeah, for sure. So you hit on it right out of the gate that this is a philosophical shift, and I think that's what gets me most excited about it. Certainly we're bringing new value to market, but that's something we try to do over and over again. Here, what you're seeing is more of a pivot in the industry around access to your data and ease and enablement of using that data to help you make good business decisions. And that's really exciting. That's exciting for us. It's exciting for our prospects. Hopefully it's exciting for our customers. When we think about our analytics package, you're going to be able to start seeing your data in different ways. Not only seeing it, but you're also going to be able to start evaluating how you're doing against benchmarks of like-sized PMCs. That really enables you to make good determinations about how you're doing. How's my business doing? Am I succeeding? Are there things I need to tune up or tune down or lean into?
Sure.
And then on the API side, again, you're opening things up. You start thinking about the limits of creativity that property management companies have. You now have access to that data to use as you want throughout your ecosystem, throughout your technology stack. And that's a really empowering thing.
Now, why do you think this matters for property managers and the industry as a whole? Like when we think about the Proptech stack for SMBs, what do you think they deserve that they haven't been getting?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think some of it gets to that empowerment in terms of what they deserve that they haven't been getting. They're using some of the systems like Buildium to capture their system of record data. It's the backbone of their technology ecosystems.
And there's a lot there, right? There's a ton of data there.
Huge amounts of data. And then subsequently, it's really hard for them to access that data in a way other than the mechanisms we provide through our UX. So when you start thinking about analytics and you start thinking about open APIs, well, that changes the game a little bit. Now you actually have the ability to access your data through myriad tools and even to build your own tools. And that becomes really important because in the industry, we're seeing an enormous amount of activity. There are really great products up and down the stack. What this gives you the ability to do is integrate with those products with ease and also do it in a really custom way if you want. Throughout the industry, we're seeing this notion of the return of the CIO, and I think you're seeing that in Proptech more especially. And when you think about that, it's our job to really enable them to be able to use their platform data, their system of record data, to really work throughout their whole tech stack.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and I think you're right. I mean, I've heard from property managers myself that now they're thinking of hiring someone just for their information technology, just for their IT. Where in the past they kind of didn't think that they needed it, and now they're quickly realizing this is so important that they have to do it right away, and it's accelerated so quickly over the past 3 months even. So, what are some of the Proptech and data trends that you've been seeing in the space?
Yeah, so certainly that idea we just touched on with the return of the CIO, we're seeing. I've personally been on a lot of calls with prospects where they're they're very interested in how they can integrate to our product, not just how can they use our product, but how does it fit in our ecosystem. So I think that's a big trend and one that's going to continue.
Yep.
I think the other big one is just the challenging environment we're living in right now. We've all been in pretty unprecedented times with dealing with COVID. I think that's especially interesting in Proptech. What does that really mean for the industry, and how do you know that you're weathering it well? I think you extrapolate that out. People don't want to necessarily have to be in contact with people unless they absolutely have to. So I think you see a big shift towards, hey, I want to run my business in as contactless a way as I can.
Yep.
And we're seeing that a lot of the industry is wanting and demanding that, especially around payments. Like, I don't want to go out and pick up a check or touch a dollar and move the dollar to someone else. I want to be able to do that in an automated way. So, and I think you'll continue to see that as this progresses. I think it's a little bit of a bellwether for how things are going to go for at least the foreseeable future.
Where do you see the most opportunity for development in the SMB property management space? Of course, we're talking about zero-touch property management, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
If we get a little bit more granular, like, what do you think are the specific areas for improvement and opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, the zero-touch, of course, is huge throughout a property manager's ecosystem, right? I think everyone really wants to try to get as far into that as we can. And the plus of that is that also means you're automating more of your ecosystem. So hopefully it means, easier for you in terms of how much work it takes. Beyond that and connected to that, I think it's this idea that the residents are king, right? Mm-hmm. Our customers, the property management customers, are dealing with customers who are living in this world, and they're living in a world where residents are demanding, as they should be. And I think that they have grown accustomed and really want a self-service world where they can do things on their timeline with their mechanisms in an automated and easy way. Common saying we say around here is if they can't do it on their phone, then they're not going to do it. Right. And I think that's really, really important. And I think it's important for our customers, our prospects, for the industry in general, to really keep that in focus. Really, like that's the segment we're serving, and making sure that we're bringing them the technology and ease that they're accustomed to. Yeah,
100%. And as I mentioned to everybody out there, Buildium has recently launched analytics and insights, and as Patrick was talking about. So let's get a little bit more into that. There are lots of SaaS companies that have dashboards and insights. So what makes Buildium's different, in your opinion, Patrick?
Yeah, that's a great product question. In a word, I would say simplicity. Big data is a thing you'll hear in the industry a lot. AI is a thing you'll hear a lot. Like, those are the kind of data buzzwords that are floating around.
Sure.
Really, when I work with products that claim to be big data, generally what you're seeing is a mountain of data just being thrown at you.
Right. And what do you do with it?
Yeah, and I mean, it can look good, right? You can look at it in a piece of marketing material and you're like, hey, that looks kind of neat. But then you use it, it can be really overwhelming. And again, this access to data is really about empowerment. And I think a lot of times it ends up disempowering people because it's so overwhelming. Buildium, as you know, has founded itself on this idea of consumer grade technology and really making things easy to use. That's really what we did here. We tried to bring the data to you. Now, can you take it to depths where you can get that mountain of data if you really want to get there? Of course, but we're really going to try to bring it to you so that you can have the data when you need it, where you need it. It's the salient information you want to help you make the key decisions you need to make for your business. And I think that's really what sets us apart.
Yeah, that flexibility and open approach are definitely keywords in all of this. And, I think it's nice to also imagine that a business owner or a business that is on the smaller side, just getting started, will have different needs than someone who, has 5,000 plus units and has been managing for, over 5 years.
Exactly right. Yep. That's the challenge.
Yeah, right. So you're providing something that's flexible for everyone. Now, what kind of analytics and insights are available in Buildium?
Yeah, so this is really just the start for us. So we tried to focus this first release around the things that we thought would be most important to some of those challenges we talked about earlier. And there's four real key areas. You got resident adoption, e-pay adoption, leasing performance, and then just your company performance. The resident center adoption is going to do things like let you know how many of your residents are using the resident center, how many of them are adopting some of the features that are in there, how frequently do they sign in, are they paying their rent that way? You know, we think back to what we just talked about the idea of resident being king. How do you measure that? Well, this is one really good way to measure that, right?
Sure.
You could extend that to the e-pay adoption. Again, they want that contactless delivery. Okay, are they using it? And then also, when you deal with money, that also impacts your bottom line. How are they paying, right? Are they using ACH? Are they using credit cards? Are they using our consumer our pay at retail stores? Are they using Pay Near Me? The leasing performance, that's going to become really interesting when you start to think about the impact of COVID too, right?
100%.
Yeah, and it's funny. I don't even really know how yet, but it's something that I feel like you're going to want to watch really closely. There's going to be, you already have some federal help in terms of assisting people in need. How long is that going to continue? What's going to happen after that? Are we going to see evictions? Are you going to see turnover? Are you going to see changes in how we do leases? That's one I would personally want to keep a really close eye on in the next couple of months. And then the last one, the company performances bit, like, yeah, I just want to know how your company's performing, right? Like, we're all feeling the struggles of COVID right now, and what better time than now to really take a look at your business and see, geez, are my KPIs where I need them to be, and if they're not, what should I be focusing on?
Yeah, and I know a lot of property managers and small business owners are asking themselves the same questions because we talked a little bit about benchmarking, we talked a little bit about leasing and kind of seeing where that is going to go, because we're still very much in the middle of a pandemic, and a lot of those questions and those benchmarks have to be adjusted. So I know that's one of the things at Buildium that we're paying close attention to right now, and we're gathering research to essentially understand how property managers have changed their business up until now, what's worked best for them, and what those new benchmarks are. So definitely keep an eye out, all of you out there, to some of the new Buildium content coming up that will provide that survey research and information. Now, for my next question, we talked, at a pretty, I would say, at a broad scale, 30,000 foot view about what the new analytics and insights will do in Buildium. What pieces of it do you think property managers will find most useful? And if you had to pick 3 real-time reports, what would they be? Let's see. Good question. So I think for the most important parts, I think I'd look at 2. The first being just the idea of being able to compare against the benchmark, right? I think that's so important. I personally use tools to help manage my teams, but if you look at those numbers in a vacuum, well, they're just numbers, and you can spin them this way, you can spin them that way. Right. What I really want to know is what does this number mean, right? A number in isolation is just a number. I really want to know how am I doing against a cohort of my peers? Am I considered good, bad, average? And that sort of information really helps me make decisions about what do I need to do to make my business better. So I think that's the first one. Sure. And the delinquency rate by itself, without any other context, you might be missing the big picture of what's going on in your market. Exactly. Right. What does delinquency rate mean? Right. It only means something when you know what's the average. And then the other bit would just be this idea of bringing the data to you. And we're admittedly early in this journey, but sure. When I think about the users of the system, and you will definitely have people who want to get in there and get deep with analytics, but you're also going to have the people who really just want to get in, use the system for what they need to do that day. And if we can successfully bring that data to them where they need it, that's just so impactful. And we're calling that the kind of did you knows. So throughout the application, hopefully we're going to want to interject these ideas of, hey, did you know? Here's a data point.
about what can help you with what you're doing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I know someone, who has used different dashboards and, different tech for B2B. Like, one of the things that I think sometimes is missing from it is if there aren't those touch points, right? Because then you can have, a dashboard section, or you can have a section of the platform that has the information. But if you're not prompted to use it inside of your process, then you might just, maybe you're rushed, maybe you forget that it's there, or you don't exactly know how to apply it always. So having those touch points and reminders, I think, is so critical.
Yeah, it's very easy for in any business for the data analysis and the business to become very disjoint, right? Or separate operations. The idea of bringing them together hopefully helps support business efficiency and really letting people make those decisions when and where they need to.
Okay, so let's dive into the Open API, into Buildium's new Open API. Now, first off, for those who aren't as tech savvy, could you explain what an Open API is?
Yeah, I'll try. So I'm admittedly tech savvy, so I might miss the mark on this. At its core level, it is programmatic access to your data. So if you think about how you access your data right now, typically you probably go log into Buildium, you go to a page and you pull some data out and do something with it, right?
Sure.
What this allows you to do is not log in, not go through the UX, access your data, pull it into whatever process or system you're going to consume that data in directly, and be able to use it in different ways.
Basically, you give someone the keys to the castle as far as the data is concerned. There's security. Of course, it's 100% secure.
Of course. Yep.
There's an API key that they have that they can basically just plug into.
Absolutely. Hopefully that wasn't too jargon filled, but that's the easiest way I can explain it.
All right, well, what are some of the ways you think property managers can most easily leverage an Open API out of the gate?
Yeah, so out of the gate, thinking of that ease, the first thing I would recommend for anyone, and we have this in our getting started documents, is to get in there and try to use it. I think there's probably a hurdle for someone who hasn't done it before, and most of it is just confidence, right? Like, hey, anything you haven't done before is going to be challenging. And our documents are pretty straightforward. Get in there, provision yourself a key, which is going to allow you to use this, and then go through our steps to use a tool called Postman to actually pull some data. I think once you see that you can make a simple programmatic call, and then you can get data that you know and recognize from your experiences in our platform, it's going to click for you. And then you're going to be able to actually think about, how can I use it? And that's the second thing I would do, is once you realize that power, is spend some time with the people in your business to talk about, how can we use this, right? Because you've conceptualized of Buildium as a platform, or whatever system you're using as a platform. Start to think about, how does this fit into my whole ecosystem, and what are some creative and unique ways that I can start to use this data? Oftentimes with APIs, I see that people aren't accustomed to them and aren't used to them, and they don't take the time to really learn how they work. Once they do, you'll find that the creative juices start to flow pretty quickly. And I would encourage everyone to sit down and really think about, how does this change how this system works in our stack?
Yeah, I love that point of view and that perspective. And, during my career, I've often heard colleagues, ask the question, instead of saying, okay, don't just think about what's on the table. First, before you think of and you understand what's on the table, think about what your pain points are, where you think that there are opportunities, and sketch that out before you think about your limitations. So it's just like a different way of approaching the problem, right?
Totally. Yep.
So how do you envision different verticals and business types using this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the beauty of an open API is its flexibility, right? So I'll go back to what we were just talking about with that, using the creativity and imagination of the people in your business. I don't want to use terms like limitless, but there are really no guards on how you can do this, right? The data's there. You can build around it with whatever you want. Now, of course, the building is, you have to do work to do that, but I think the only real guard here is what you can conceptualize of. So applicability to just about any vertical is as far as your imagination can take you.
That's awesome. Now, I've heard through the grapevine, because I also work at Buildium, that there are developers already using the Open API and working out new integrations.
Yeah, that we were so excited to see this, but yeah, it is true. So internally, we're already using it, first of all. So we're using it for a few integrations with some other products and services. But through our beta of this product, we had a client go and create a Ruby client based on our API, which was just so exciting. I think part of it was just getting to know what we had to offer and how we could work with it, which I love. And again, I think that gets you over that hurdle of knowing how to use it.
Sure.
But it's also useful, and that's very exciting.
Now, last question I have for you. Is there any name for this release? It's out in the world right now. So any plans to start naming releases in the future? Because I can help with that as well.
Always looking for help naming releases. So we sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. This one did have a name. It was called Doolittle. I can't share a lot of detail as to what that means, so I will let people's imaginations run wild with it. But some folks will understand it and probably get a kick out of it.
Dr. Doolittle. That's amazing. I'm afraid to ask. Well, it was awesome talking with you, Patrick, and really enjoyed getting some insight into all the exciting things that are now live for Buildium, and excited to see how people start to use Open API and start to use analytics and insights just to really make better decisions with their business.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me.